Alright, what is up guys? It is Zach and I'm here to teach you a little bit about aperture today, aka f-stop, if you're looking at your camera. So we're going to get into that. Basically, what f-stop is when you're looking at your lens, it's the number on the front or the side. It's probably going to be like somewhere right there, and it's going to be two numbers. If you have like a zoom lens maybe. This is like a beginner lens, kit lens, so it's got two different minimum apertures. So at f/28 it's a f/3.5, and when I zoom it out to 70, the lowest aperture is f/5.6. so what does that mean? And then this is another zoom lens. This is a 17-28, but this has a fixed aperture of 2.8 through the whole zoom. So when I'm at 17 millimeters, it is 2.8 minimum aperture, and when I'm at 28 it is still a 2.8 minimum aperture. So kind of the benefits to both of those I'll go into a little bit, but we'll take a look at a few images too regarding depth of field and how that kind of plays out and what that means for you. So the basic breakdown of aperture is that the higher the f-stop, it's going to let in less light, and the lower the aperture or f-stop, it's going to let in more light. So an f like 1.4 or f1.8 is going to let in a lot of light, and an f22 or like f24 is going to be letting in a lot less light. So with that, at f1.8 or f1.4, or if you're going really low, f1.2, it's going to have a really shallow depth of field. Like f1.2 is going to have a really shallow depth of field. So what that means is when you're shooting, like you might only have something in focus that's, you know, within a few inches of each other. Somebody standing a foot back at f1.2 is going to be out of focus if you're focusing on another person's face or another object. But f1.8 you might be able to get away with it. And so on, the higher you go, the more depth of field you have, but the darker your image is going to be because it's letting in less and less light, because the hole in which it's letting the light in through the aperture is getting smaller and smaller. So f22, really small hole, f1.8, much bigger hole. So basically, when do you want to use these different apertures? So if you're shooting like landscape, or you're shooting a group of people, or you're shooting a group of things that you need a longer depth of field for, you're going to want to shoot at a higher f-stop. So like landscape, you got mountains or whatever that are going on for, you know, miles potentially. Crank that f-stop up and crank that ISO up too a little bit probably as well, so you don't underexpose your image entirely. But you want to make sure you have everything in focus. Same with like, you know, a group photo where people might be standing at different points of the photo. You know, you're gonna have to. You don't have to go all the way up to f22 per se, but you might have to go up to f7, f5.6, something like that, a little bit higher than just, you know, like f1.8, f2, something really low. That's not gonna work well for you. So playing off of that. Kind of the lower the f-stop at like f1.8, that's going to bring that field of view way down, but that's kind of nice if you're shooting like portraits or you want something to pop off the background. You can use that lower f-stop to do that. Just make sure you adjust the other settings in your camera to match that so you're not overexposing your photos. So that's kind of the basics of aperture and f-stop. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to drop them in the comments or slide in my DMs with those at _onthemoon_ or at creativeclout.co on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you, and keep shooting.